Question: which of these statements is true about motorcycles? Option number 1, motorcycles are small and can easily be seen by drivers. Option number 2, motorcycles may not share traffic lanes. Option number 3, motorcycles should be followed at a 4 seconds following distance. The answer is option number 3, motorcycles should be followed at a 4 seconds following distance. Question: which of these is the proper way to change lanes? Option number 1, signal, check your mirrors, and then change lanes. Option number 2, signal, check your mirrors, and look over your shoulder before you change lanes. Option number 3, check your mirrors, look over your shoulder, then change lanes. The answer is option number 2, signal, check your mirrors, and look over your shoulder before you change lanes. Question: when may you legally go around or under a railroad crossing gate? Option number 1, under no circumstances. Option number 2, when you can see clearly in both directions. Option number 3, when the warning lights are not flashing. The answer is option number 1, under no circumstances. Question: you are waiting for to turn right at a red traffic light. There is a pedestrian on the right side of your vehicle waiting to be crossed the street you want to enter. Who has the right of way when your light turns green? Option number 1, the pedestrian has the right of way. Option number 2, you have the right of way only if the crosswalk is not marked. Option number 3, you have the right of way because your light is green. The answer is option number 1, the pedestrian has the right of way. Question: if you are convicted of driving with an excessive blood alcohol concentration (BAC), you may be sentenced to serve. Option number 1, up to 6 months in jail. Option number 2, up to 12 months in jail. Option number 3, no jail time, but you must pay a fine of $500. The answer is option number 1, up to 6 months in jail. Question: this yellow sign means? Option number 1, there is a sharp turn to the right. Option number 2, right turn only lane. Option number 3, right turn permitted on green arrow only. The answer is option number 1, there is a sharp turn to the right. Question: it is night. A vehicle coming towards you has its high beam on which make it hard to see the road ahead. You should. Option number 1, look ahead towards the left edge of your lane. Option number 2, look ahead towards the right edge of your lane. Option number 3, look straight ahead in your lane. The answer is option number 2, look ahead towards the right edge of your lane. Question: an orange color sign like this means? Option number 1, there is a road work ahead. Option number 2, you must change lanes ahead. Option number 3, there is a detour ahead. The answer is option number 1, there is a road work ahead. Question: two-way road you are driving on has a lane marked as shown in the picture. This lane is used? Option number 1, to begin or end left turns or start a permitted U-turn. Option number 2, as a regular driving lane during periods of heavy traffic. Option number 3, to pass other vehicles that are moving slowly. The answer is option number 2, as a regular driving lane during periods of heavy traffic. Question: you must yield the right-of-way to an emergency vehicle by? Option number 1, driving to the right edge of the road and stopping. Option number 2, moving into the right lane and driving slowly until it has passed. Option number 3, stopping immediately, even if you are in an intersection. The answer is option number 1, driving to the right edge of the road and stopping. Question: if your vehicle starts to lose traction because of water on the road, hydroplane, you should? Option number 1, drive at a constant speed to gain better traction. Option number 2, apply the brakes family to prevent your vehicle from sliding. Option number 3, slow down gradually and not apply the brakes. The answer is option number 3, slow down gradually and not apply the brakes. Question: it is against the law to enter an intersection when? Option number 1, you can't get all the way across before the light turns red. Option number 2, the light is flashing yellow and you didn't stop first. Option number 3, the light is yellow and you can stop safely. The answer is option number 1, you can't get all the way across before the light turns red. Question: which of these statements is true about large trucks? Option number 1, they take longer to stop than passenger vehicles. Option number 2, they all have air brakes, which allows them to stop quickly. Option number 3, they are more maneuverable than passenger vehicles. The answer is option number 1, they take longer to stop than passenger vehicles. Question: U-turns in a business district are? Option number 1, always illegal because they are dangerous. Option number 2, legal whenever oncoming vehicles are not a hazard. Option number 3, legal only at intersections, unless a sign prohibits them. The answer is option number 2, legal whenever oncoming vehicles are not a hazard. Question: a person may legally ride in the back of a pickup truck when? Option number 1, the sides of the pickup bed are at least 24 inches high. Option number 2, the back of the pickup is covered with a camper shell. Option number 3, is secured seats and using approved safety belts. The answer is option number 3, is secured seats and using approved safety belts. Question: turn your windshield wipers and use your headlights on rainy, snowy, or foggy days? Option number 1, on the high beam setting. Option number 2, so other drivers can see you. Option number 3, only when driving on the freeway. The answer is option number 1, on the high beam setting. Question: 2 sets of solid yellow lines spaced 2 feet or more apart? Option number 1, may only be crossed to make a left turn or U-turn. Option number 2, should be treated like a solid wall and not be crossed. Option number 3, may be used to begin or end left-hand turns. The answer is option number 2, should be treated like a solid wall and not be crossed. Question: you are driving 55 miles per hour in the far left, fast, lane of a freeway posted for 65 miles per hour. You could be cited for driving too slowly? Option number 1, if the road or weather conditions warrant driving this slowly. Option number 2, if you block the normal and reasonable flow of traffic. Option number 3, under no circumstances, because it is always safer to drive slower than other traffic. The answer is option number 2, if you block the normal and reasonable flow of traffic. Question: you must file a report of traffic accident occurring in California, SR1, with DMV when? Option number 1, your vehicle fails a smog test. Option number 2, you are involved in a collision and there is an injury. Option number 3, you change your insurance company. The answer is option number 2, you are involved in a collision and there is an injury. Question: you should increase the distance between your vehicle and the vehicle ahead when you? Option number 1, follow is small passenger vehicle. Option number 2, are being tailgate by another driver. Option number 3, drive slower than the posted speed limit. The answer is option number 2, are being tailgate by another driver. Question: which way do you turn your front wheels to park downhill next to a curb? Option number 1, into the curb. Option number 2, away from the curb. Option number 3, parallel to the curb. The answer is option number 1, into the curb. Question: there are 2 traffic lanes in your direction. You are driving in the left lane and many vehicles are passing you on the right. If the driver behind you wishes to drive faster, you should? Option number 1, stay in your lane so you don't impede the traffic flow. Option number 2, drive onto the left shoulder to let the other vehicles pass. Option number 3, move over into the right lane when it is safe. The answer is option number 3, move over into the right lane when it is safe. Question: when approaching a crosswalk where a blind pedestrian is waiting to cross, you must stop. Option number 1, more than 5 feet from the crosswalk so the pedestrian will not be distracted by the sound of your engine. Option number 2, at the crosswalk and wait for the pedestrian to cross the street. Option number 3, at the crosswalk and then tell the pedestrian when to cross street. The answer is option number 1, more than 5 feet from the crosswalk so the pedestrian will not be distracted by the sound of your engine. Question: you must notify DMV within 5 days if you? Option number 1, paint your vehicle in a different color. Option number 2, are cited for a traffic violation. Option number 3, sell or transfer your vehicle. The answer is option number 3, sell or transfer your vehicle. Question: smoking inside a vehicle and a person younger than 18 years of age is present is? Option number 1, legal, if it is your child. Option number 2, illegal at all times. Option number 3, not restricted by law. The answer is option number 2, illegal at all times. Question: which of these statements is true about changing lanes? Option number 1, you only need to turn and look over your right shoulder for lane changes to the right or left. Option number 2, look over your right shoulder for a right lane change and your left shoulder for a left lane change. Option number 3, Vehicles with two outside mirrors do not have blind spots. The answer is option number 2. Look over your right shoulder for a right lane change and your left shoulder for a left lane change. Question: which statement is true about motorcyclists and motorists? Option number 1. Motorcyclists are not allowed to drive faster and other traffic during congested road conditions. Option number 2. Motorcyclists have the same rights or responsibilities as other-way motorists. Option number 3. Motorcycles are heavier than other vehicles and are less affected by wind or rain. The answer is option number 2. Motorcyclists have the same rights or responsibilities as other-way motorists. Question: what should you do at an intersection with a flashing yellow signal light? Option number 1. Maintain your speed but watch for other vehicles. Option number 2. Stop before crossing the intersection. Option number 3. Slow down and cross carefully. The answer is option number 3. Slow down and cross carefully. Question: at an uncontrolled intersection where you can't see cross traffic until you are just about to enter the intersection, the speed limit is? Option number 1, 15 miles per hour. Option number 2, 25 miles per hour. Option number 3, 20 miles per hour. The answer is option number 1, 15 miles per hour. Question: safely backing your vehicle includes all the following except? Option number 1, looking over your right shoulder as you back up. Option number 2, checking behind your vehicle before you get in. Option number 3, tapping your horn before you back up. The answer is option number 3, tapping your horn before you back up.